G'day everybody, it's Dave from Wing Chun Mind Force. This is another episode, I think it's the fourth in the series about Chum Kiu, and I'm going to read from Sigung Chu Shong Tin's great book, the Book of Wing Chun VOL1, and it's just one paragraph I'm going to read today, but it's a very profound one. And before I get onto that, you might notice, those astute viewers, that I'm dressed as Santa. Oh, wait a minute, no, not Santa. I'm dressed as a Wing Chun for Life practitioner. I've started a new thing where each week, until I run out of shirts, I'm going to wear the school shirt of a friend of mine's school, and I'm going to start off today with Wing Chun for Life, which is my friend Sifu Richard Antonini's school. Here. All right, so this is the book I'm reading from, Sigung Chu Shong Tin's Book of Wing Chun, Volume 1. I'm reading from page 161, and it's at the end of the Chi Sao section. I'll cover Chi Sao later. I really need a partner to properly show you things about Chi Sao. But this is just before Sigung Chu starts talking about Chum Kiu. So this is what he writes. He said, one may query, if the idea of an offence is excluded from a martial art, can it still be regarded as a martial art? In fact, offence is natural for animals of any kind. Thus, anyone by instinct can punch and kick. The question is, whether one can fully mobilise his bodily power, whether the structures of the forms he employs is in accordance with the principles of mechanics, whether the routes along which forces are launched are gaining him advantages, whether the limbs and the body are coordinated and articulated, and whether the actions and reactions are swift. Tiny idea, that's Siu Nim, and detecting hand bridge, that's Chum Kiu, are exactly for that, training learners to acquire the above abilities. Now this is a really profound bit of writing, and when I first got this book a few years ago, I put brackets around it, and I've got bits of paper and things stuck in. It's a bit dog-eared because I'm always going through it and thinking about what it says in here. But let's just quickly talk about that. First thing he says, if the idea of offence, attacking, is excluded from a martial art, can it still be regarded as a martial art? So what he's saying here is that the first two forms, Siu Nim and Chum Kiu, are practiced like a meditation. They're practiced softly, slowly, and mindfully. And we believe in practicing the forms without any fighting intent. We don't think about what we're doing as a punch, as a cut down. I mean, obviously it goes through your mind, but when you practice them, you should be practicing entering that Nim Dao mind state, that sort of no-mindedness, present now mind, thinking about your spine being relaxed and empty and filled up with energy, thinking about your tailbone, say hello to your bum hole, as Albert Chong says about Tai Gong. Just be aware of it, you don't have to squeeze it. Feel all the bones of your spine right up to the top of your head. Relax your legs, float your torso, and do all the things that I've been talking about in my other videos, and just do them softly. And that's why I say do it to music. So our approach is to really do Siu Nim and Chum Kiu as meditations and feel this mind force fill you up. Of course, we're going to fight with it. As Bill G is where we start to really be more into a fighting idea. Personally, I believe that the dummies when we really start to think about fighting, and that might seem like a long time to wait. But in the wisdom of old Kung Fu masters, our masters came up with this great art where they just went, well, have patience, and I guess people started pretty young doing this, and hopefully they weren't getting into fights, living in a monastery or whatever they do and hiding out in a red junk. But that's what he's saying, he says basically offence is natural for animals of any kind. Thus, anyone by instinct can punch and kick. And people often say to me, do you guys spar? Do you fight? And it's a funny one because it seems the obvious thing to do. And I've done plenty of sparring in my youth. I was into we used to call it non-classical Kung Fu, but it was really sort of a full contact kickboxing sort of scene in the 70s and in the mid 80s. And I've been in heaps of fights, all of them not started by me, but I have fought a fair bit. And I know that anyone can punch and anyone can kick, but that doesn't mean they can do it well. And I'm not saying I want to get hit by somebody who can really hit, but I've been hit quite a bit, especially when I worked as a bouncer. And I was surprised by, these were big guys and they seemed to be giving me their best shot, and it would really not hurt that much. It would be like, boom, and I think, don't do that again, please. Didn't hurt that much. The only times it really hurts is they smack you right in the teeth. I don't like that. It gets me a little riled. But, it's natural to be able to punch and kick. So Kung Fu's obviously got to be more than just natural punching and kicking. It's sort of what Bruce Lee called naturally unnatural or unnaturally natural. So Sigung says, the question is whether one can fully mobilise his body power, and that's what I talked about in the last video, about how Chum Kiu teaches you to start everything in your body, whether you're pivoting, stepping, or even mentally moving the body. That's a higher level, which I will talk about. Remind me if I forget. You learn the structure of the forms in accordance with the principles of mechanics. That's the thing about Wing Chun. It's brilliantly thought out. I was talking last week about your arms being like, with relaxed joints, your arms become like a sort of a spanner or a crowbar. It just turns. It doesn't think about anything. It doesn't tense up. It just moves. And that's, the forms in Wing Chun are all based on circles and spheres and spherical objects, and also piercing straight lines, wedges, triangular solid things. It's all principles of mechanics. So we teach that, we learn that till it becomes stuck in your head. Whether the routes along which forces are launched are gaining me advantages. So a haymaker's not as good as boom, a 1-inch punch is not as good as a 1-foot punch. Whether the limbs and the body are coordinated and articulated. So, the whole body's relaxed and moving as one thing, a unified one thing. That's a big part of what Wing Chun's about, where the power comes from. And whether the actions and reactions are swift. Now, when you do these forms slowly, obviously you're not moving swiftly, but the thing I discovered, especially when I get into Bill G, was there's a sort of a unconscious swiftness or a subconscious swiftness that happens. I never tried to be fast in Bill G. I just practiced at a medium pace, and then I remember one day just going really fast, but it felt like it was pure. It sort of felt right. It was a natural fastness, not trying to be fast. It was just like some kind of natural thing moving fast, like blown by the wind or whatever. So the last thing he says is, Siu Nim and Chum Kiu are for exactly that, training learners or students to acquire these above abilities. So there you go, a bit of wisdom from the old master who trained under Yip Man starting in 1950, who was his chief instructor for many years until Master Yip sadly passed away in 1972, and then continued to practice Wing Chun for over 60 years, trained many people, and went out of his way to pass on the wisdom, not just person to person, which is the greatest way to do it, but he's left this for us. So I'll put the links again in the description. Make sure you go and get this book and the other books and the video. They're worth their weight in gold. It's worth working through it, and I hope me explaining will help you to sort of access it. Okay, next time I've got a really cool couple of Chum Kiu training testing things to show you that I didn't show you in the video last week. See you later.